Look. Look.
Is that maybe a resolution on that
What are you doing?
Good. So what are you doing
But
now?
it has to value
What
out
are you doing?
$8,000 or more.
What's the difference in that?
That's why I wasn't sure it said commercial property.
There's one time weren't you like
Computer
city something?
Yeah, but no, it was, on the city council and,
Yeah.
another thing before and after
Both. And you had your rubber boots on.
Need them.
So
It was pretty soggy.
get into the walls.
Came out of the bathroom on the first floor, crossed into the second grade rooms, filled 3 rooms, and then drained down through walls in the 5th grade rooms. In 10 minutes. That's how much
10
water.
minutes.
Mhm.
Somebody asked me, how did I do that? Big pipe
It was actually on a toilet.
of downhill. I go, well, you know, I said, I had the same thing. I just happened to go down in my basement in the valve where the water line comes up, with a plastic piece.
Mm-hmm.
I probably changed it 6 years ago. That cracking water was spraying all over. And luckily, it must have happened 10 minutes before that, before I was down there. My old basement would have been flooded.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have ever known. So stuff like that just happens sometimes.
You're just lucky people were still at school because it was at 4:45.
Yeah, they've been gone. Oh my God.
That place would have been a disaster. There was so much water coming out that it was, so it busted up off right next to the flush tower on the toilet. And so it was shooting straight out the door, and there was so much pressure that Sam, the tanky, had to rope himself into the door to be able to get it open. Just trying to address
Yeah.
Okay, obviously, a workshop on the comp plan, last work session, we also talked about some other things, building regulations, so, open the floor if anybody wants to. Start off this meeting.
Oh, I'll go, I'll hand out these sheets, this is what I was kind of talking about last week. There's not much there, I just think that, yeah, you know, we're requiring too much acreage, and people, you know, the price of land is anymore, people can't afford that. So I would suggest like an area, let's say a half mile outside of every town. I think like Whiting and some of those places would love to have people build there. I know they would, because at one time I know they were giving away lots up there. But anyway, what I've got is, you know, just an example, you have a 1,600 square foot house, you add that in, and your lateral field is going to be, you know, depends on what the perk is. I talked to John Howe, and he said 50 by 100, so I went a little bit bigger, and I said, let's say you have to have a 60 by 100 lateral field times 4. Be 24,000 square foot, so you would have to have your lot would have to be 25,600 square feet. And I guess my thinking of that also is, when talking to John, that he put in the house, he put a lateral field in the other day, and he said it was almost a quarter of a mile long. So if you have a, you know, cut it down to 2 acres, maybe that isn't enough for 4 lateral fields. This would take you to 100 years. And then he said, after you use that up, then you could put in a mound system on top of that. So this proposal would last longer than, probably 125 to 150 years. Lateral field, 25 to 30, I know some people said lasted longer than that. I think it depends on how often you get your septic pumped. You know, take good maintenance of it, so that's just my thinking. And an acre's 43,560, so it's a little over a half acre. That's it. You know, the perk came out of that. It didn't come out. Could be larger, could be smaller.
Minus the footprint of the house. Footprint of the house wouldn't go into that calculation, right?
What's that?
The footprint of the house wouldn't.
Well, that's why I got the 1,600 square foot house.
Okay.
That is in the calculation.
Yeah. 1,600 plus, isn't that right? 2,560.
So you're saying times 4 is 4 different moves?
4 different moves. So each one of them would last, let's say 25 years, so that's 100 years. And then after that, you could go with a mound system, get another 25, so it'd be 125 years on that property. I mean, that's just a way to try to get some development closer to town, where they're not going out and buying 20 acres or even 3 acres anymore. It's like acres. That's just right.
So where do you suggest?
Well, I'd suggest we redo put a section in all of its own and say, I mean, I don't know if we want a subdivision 10 miles from town like that. I would say it should be within a mile, half mile of the town. We take a half mile.
Would it be within that identified space, that map?
Yeah,
It could be for,
Yeah, the map that was.
You're saying, in your suggestion is in all zoning districts?
Yes.
Or in the R2 or R3? Or R1? I mean, like an A1?
That's a lot of questions.
The only reason is just to know,
Yes.
the R2 is where it can go, R1 or R2. Can go down to that smaller square footage.
yeah, I mean, so is there a way to say that the circle is, because I know that doesn't really necessarily do its own thing, right?
That is future development, future land use here. It's between 50 and its application is close. The future land use.
Yeah, suburban's here, and US Highway 75 is here, and the purples.
County has really defined those to specific range section. It's,
As has been stated, the comprehensive plan is just a guide. There's nothing binding to it.
I guess I don't understand why Soldier and Whiting and Circle Hill don't have those suburban tiers.
Because it's a highway corridor. They don't have it, so they don't figure there's gonna be much development.
Yeah. Understand, but you know, you think some of these places would love to have, because you wouldn't have to have 3 acres to build on, like Circle Hill, so they can get more people in that area.
Well, but like, at White, their city limits are quite a bit.
I guess they just don't have a color.
Yeah, their city limits cover a mile, looks like.
that's correct. That's correct. And the Walker's is around 620, 630 acres. So,
So, let's see.
So yeah, theoretically, should be enough room for development within their city limits. So I guess what, like in this R1 and the R2, 3, the intensity of use is 80,000 square feet, if you can have it acceptable. But you're saying that could be lowered to the 20, basically 30,000 square feet. I mean,
Yeah, round.
round.
Yeah. I mean, if it was per cut, it doesn't mean per cut that way. You know, whatever, hey, that's the way it should be anyway. How it's gonna perk up, just because you got 3 acres. I've seen guys down in Topeka build houses on, brand new houses that took up the front yard, backyard, and I'm thinking, okay, 30 years from now, what are you gonna do? There's no place to go with your sewer system. So just plotting off a piece and saying that, you know, you can build a house there, that, to me, that really is.
And I had no idea that septic systems were that short-lived. Yeah.
It's just part of the structure of
Yeah, it won't infiltrate out anymore.
not just familiar with the business.
Like I said, it just depends. I mean, some people do a good job of getting on every so often, and some don't. You get that sludge down in there, and it gets up and starts going into your lateral field, and you get a problem.
I don't know if this is still the case, but in general, 20 years ago, the average person would move on average every 7 years. And of course, could have changed, and that might depend on
Sure.
where they live, you know, if they lived in a bigger city or other factors. So theoretically, there could be several, as we know, several owners that would have 25. Thank you, Kate.
Moving on. Is there some place where we can put an exception that if the property is located in future use in designated area, because that's what we're trying to target around towns, right? Not necessarily the whole county. Is that the case, or is it the case to do it the whole county?
That's you, Bob.
What's that? I'm sorry.
That's what you're thinking of, like, so.
Not for the whole county, just for
Yeah,
certain
areas.
areas.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I still think, you know, there's still people that want to have large acreage. You know, they do let them have it. I just think of a lot of young families that would like to have a house, but can't afford 3 acres. I had priced a 3 acre tract. Last one I did was 18,000, but that's been 20 years ago.
Depends a lot on the location,
Yeah.
because down there on Rochester Road off of 94th, those 3 acre plots are around 225,000 for 3
Yeah.
acres. And that's with, the meter there is all there is. You know, the water meter, because it's on a water line, and they have to, you know, pay for that, but that's what them are going for down there. But you also gotta realize, the average 1,600 square foot with just the foundation, they're saying over 300,000 right now to build. That's why you're seeing so many of these metal shed houses going in,
Yeah.
because they're around 150 to 175 to do the same thing.
I talked to Ash the other day, Ashman, and said it's 185 to 200 square foot, depending on what you want.
Building
Strip
cost-
down model and,
Building cost per square foot.
yeah.
That's finished, so
Yeah.
that's incredible.
I don't know, I didn't hear what you said.
$185 to $200 a square foot finished cost.
Yeah, that's plain Jane, that's not nothing fancy, because I got a buddy just had one, it's way above average, and they told him around 3 1/4 to get above average.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, that figure was around 150, 160.
Yeah.
So it's gone up by roughly 10 or 15, 20%.
So I guess at the bare minimum, barring making a new area, the pages 37 through 42, whatever, the R1, R2, and R3 all have that same intensity view. So that, without going to changing, to that, I would say, change that 80,000 to 30,000.
Are you in the zoning regulations? and
Yes,
the
it is,
comprehensive?
yeah. Does it talk about it in the comp plan as well?
So the only place that I see is page 49, where it talks about the suburban tier comprehensive plan.
But it doesn't talk about size.
That one, it says 5 acres there, doesn't it?
Very good, 5 acre lots.
Yeah,
49 of the comp plan, no.
I started out in the zoning regs and then we switched to the comp. I don't even understand that greater than 5 acre lots, because if you're suburban, oh, that's not urban densities.
That's the dark purple on your map. That's where you're focusing on. The suburban tiers.
Or if any of the zoning change, I mean, if that would change to R1 or R2, that we could move it. I mean, if somebody had land a mile outside of Boyd and they wanted to come in and request a zoning change to R1 or 2, they're still limited by the 8,000 square feet. But if we change that to the 30,000, they could.
Yeah, so that's the zoning regs, which is a whole other.
If I'm reading this, okay, on page 49, Luke said that clause on the suburban tiers of where growth is encouraged in urban areas at suburban densities greater than 5 acre lots, or at urban densities at urban street and sewer standards are met. If I'm understanding correctly, the sewer standards, the high density that are in our zoning regulations themselves are specifically speaking to a municipal type system where multiple users are on a single sewer line, not individual septic systems. So if we move forward on some sort of reduction in acreage, would that in a way violate that statement that's in the comp plan? Specific specifically sewer standards are met.
Which page you on?
Page 49 of the comp plan, towards the bottom under suburban cares, that particular single sentence. Looking at that and comparing that to the language that's in multiple residential districts about municipal sanitary sewer.
Well, that's the way it's saying it's allowed at urban densities if you have community sewers.
Yes.
But this, what we're talking about is where there is none, that.
Exactly, which would conflict with the comp plan, which of course is not enforceable. Also, everyone look at page 51. This is the US 75 highway corridor here, which is connected. It also speaks to the smaller than 1 acre lots served by municipal sanitary service, or some sort of community system.
And there's an or in there, so that what's the first sentence referring to? Talks about, it's the same as that one, basically encourage suburban densities greater than 5 acre lots, comma, or at urban densities.
Meaning you can go down to a city lot if you have city sewer.
Otherwise, it's gotta be 5 acres, yeah, according to the comp.
Yeah.
So do we just take the greater than 5 acre lot out? That sentence?
Yeah, but we have to describe suburban densities. I think also that area around Hoyt should go ahead and extend to the county line. There's 94th Street, county line.
And the whole point of this, so people don't have to come through this process here, is that what we're talking about? Or what is your objective?
What I saw was that you have to have, you have like 2 acres, but why do you want 2 acres? Correct? You reduce it down to 2 acres if you get it rezoned.
Yeah, that's what it is currently the smallest you can go is 2 acres.
So the point would be to go less than 2 acres, but yet still go through the process.
Well, if you went
Applying for
into,
rezoning.
if you went into the zoning change in the R1 to R3,
And they would apply for zoning change to do that.
yeah. I mean, I understand that part of the process, which is, if you change that area, that suburban tier, to where it was allowed, everybody that lived in that area would know that's allowed, they'd have the opportunity at that time to come in and,
Express their feelings.
yeah, rather than having to do each individual one. I mean, it's saying that that area is, that specific area is targeted for development. Not out in the middle of anywhere, I guess.
So the whole area would be changed and then, or, I guess,
My whole thing for it is just simplify the process and less bureaucracy to it. But I mean, I understand fully that coming before this body to speak your piece.
I think that we would still want to require the standard plat for multiple lots. We still have the rule about lot splits. It can only be divided down basically once, depending on the size of it. So those could come into play. I think everyone remembers the discussion at our last work session about the county, that memo from the county commission about the county not assuming responsibility for maintenance of certain roads,
Right.
which could be interpreted as basically possibly anything that's not an existing county road. You know, for example, on this map, Q road, R road, etc. Anything within those blocks where there's not a road, the county might have the option under their existing policy not to assume any interior roads. And if we go with this, just as a point of thinking, if we go with a smaller lot, that's going to, by definition, involve some interior roads to get off of the existing county in your transportation system. It's just something to think about.
Well, while we're talking about that, I'll just throw out another thing. I think any road that's going to be built for a subdivision from here on out should have an HOA, homeowners association. I mean, I talked to an individual out south by the fairgrounds. There's a private road out there. His house isn't on the road, but yet it's in the subdivision, and they're asking him to pay for upkeep on the road. He goes, why do I want to do that? I don't use the road. But that's part of the subdivision. And in order to maintain good roads, somebody's, I mean, what do you do if everybody comes in and says, I'm not going to pay anything? Whatever it is. And to me, that's not right. I mean, if it's a road that's going to be traveled, then you ought to be able to travel it safely. No matter, just to say a private road, you're going to maintain it yourself. Who's going to maintain it? One person, two people? you got 10 in there and only 2 of them want to do it, something. You know, I think whoever puts the subdivision in should set up a HOA and they should be in charge of it. Make sure that road can be, that's just my.
In that specific one, there's only 3 houses that use that road, the rest of them all have county
Yeah.
road access.
But they're all in the subdivision, so.
There's no prior agreement on that, so,
Private road and it's part of the subdivision and they say, hey, you're supposed to pay your share, but they use that road. There's nothing there binding.
yeah, that's what I was
So I would say look at subdivision regulations and place something in that.
Okay.
There is a section for streets, alleys, and public ways, and talks about cul-de-sacs and all of that in the subdivision
Where's
regs.
that?
Your subdivision regulations, which are towards the back of your book, should be
Yeah,
tabbed.
subdivision regulations. Well, I hated to jump to something else.
Well, in my information that I was together on that specific topic, the county does, I mean, as you presented that, referendum or what, I don't even know what it's called. They are not going to take over subdivision roads. So I said, well, how can we require a road to be built to county standards if the county's not going to accept it? And that was just what we can do.
Does a subdivision road need to be a county standard?
According to the deeds, it does.
Has to be, have an engineer design.
And that was my part. If you're requiring people to live there to pay for that road, then it has to be the county standards, and then the county's not gonna accept the maintenance of it. Why did we?
Because most subdivisions are just a short distance and they'll be
Why
going
does
really
the
slow.
county care what their driveway? I mean, if I build a 1/4 mile long driveway off the road, the county doesn't care what it is. I get that in the subdivision, it's protecting all of the people in the subdivision, but if you have a covenant or a HOA,
Yeah, that should cover it.
Should, but sometimes those collapse. Because as Bob was indicating, sometimes they're not correctly funded from the start, or maybe they are correctly funded. But there's some implementation issues. So just looking at
Well,
this.
I'm just thinking, you know, if, let's say I put in a subdivision and I've got in 8 lots there. So you want to come in and buy a lot and say, okay, your lot's gonna be this, but each year you're gonna have to pay $125 for road maintenance. So, that's what it's gonna be.
Or 1/8 or whatever. it's-
Yeah, but,
something,
yeah.
yeah, something. But, I would.
So at least they would know.
Right. I would think that we would want to keep, that kind of the existing road quality, requirements in our zoning regulations simply to protect the county taxpayers. People that are not, if one of those HOAs fail, then the next available party will be the county.
the county has a resolution that says they're not accepting that.
Right, they could refuse, but their challenges or problems within doing that.
No one,
The county taxpayers on the line, if they were to at some point agree. So to help protect the county taxpayers from that eventuality, if the county does decide to take on that responsibility, then it helps to have that road already built to standard, at least when it was originally built.
but it just, if that road, if it has to be built to county standards, it may cost $200,000 to build the road. You're making everybody pay for that. Whereas if you didn't have to build it to that standard, you could maybe do it for 75. Or
The buyer, the purchasers of those lots.
it's like building an NRCS or a government watershed pond. It might take $10,000 to actually build it, but they're going to make it take $100,000, and then you're going to get a third of it paid for. I mean, it just everything takes more when you involve the government.
One of the considerations is that the county standard would be so that you could drive down it, easily 55 or whatever. You know, in slow subdivisions, you shouldn't be driving over 25 or 30 at the most.
Right.
You don't need the same type of a road or the same width or anything else. I mean, the width probably about the same. You need a 40 or 50 foot, I believe. Something.
Where's the wording on that? What page is that?
I can't find it.
There's some minimum design standards on subdivision regulations, page 26. Streets or begin on page 28.
That's what I saw.
That's when I saw.
While everyone's looking at that, okay, we happen to know that 3 acres is fairly common among other counties. 3 to 5 is a minimum. It's been there for 30, 40, almost 50 years. Do we have any historical information why that was chosen in Kansas as a general guideline?
Not that I've seen.
So the area south of Floyd is in flood zone. What is that? There too.
Doug,
Any,
No, it's not terrible.
The blue part,
It's the flood zone.
What?
That's the flood zone on the blue.
blue.
there's a lot more south of Beasley. So we probably
Grocery watershed.
have- plus some non-circular and some is.
Soldier Creek watershed.
Actually, Holton's kind of locked in for an expansion. This is the creek.
And a
Creek on three sides, so. Holton's blocked.
and the hills, I mean, it's down in the hole.
Yeah, well, Holton's on that hill originally, I guess. Surrounded.
I would say the lake property, Banner Creek blocks the city somewhat.
It's locked on three sides. So it looks like if we were to do this, and they start building 3 acres close to town, and Holton's blocked to the west from any expansion at all.
Yeah, northwest.
So,
Northwest.
you know, and most of them are blocked.
Right,
The south side's got the,
If you
No,
go
north,
north,
north is north.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, that's one place, but if we.
Or
bunch of-
south,
Bunch
south
of,
along.
bunch of lots in there, then it's blocked. And start building a whole bunch of tower, and open stuff, done. Move it.
And that's,
Well, they can annex right on north side. You know, where the city, part of the city
And that's
industrial
on
park.
the way to live, you wanna walk to the parks or anything else. And it defeats the purpose of being in town. So, I think town is a walk. We're going to have the kids right by, so. Start getting to a quarter, half mile away, then. One place for open news,
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
just-
it really was.
Some people want to live. I mean,
as a matter of policy, I think we need to look at things that would help our cities grow instead of create a barrier to them. And to reiterate my point from last fall is I would prefer retaining larger lots around the cities because it's easier for them, for those, when we have an owner who's willing to subdivide according to our plat regulations and provide a sanitary sewer system, then we can go even smaller on the lots than we're currently talking about. So that's possible.
then you're getting an exorbitant amount of money put into a lot. If I could go out and buy a half-acre lot in a subdivision and it doesn't have a sewer system in it, I could buy a lot less money than if I put in my own septic tank.
That's correct.
Yes.
But if we get very many of those in some ways block, or in many ways block the cities from ever annexing that.
Why?
All you have to do is look at northern Shawnee County. It's eaten up by a whole bunch of those.
Yeah.
They
keep building out there.
Yeah, they keep building. Yes,
Yeah.
because around 46 they have a sewer district, so they're all in common sewer, so they can
Right.
build on smaller lots. But if you go east of there, you'll see much larger. Now you'll see there are some smaller subdivisions that have a combined system, but you'll also see some areas that are old enough from years ago that don't have a community system, and there may be some costs that Shawnee needs to look at down the road.
I'm just trying to get it to where a person can build a house and not spend a lot of money on a lot.
And where they don't want to live
Yeah.
in the city.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at a 25-year-old married couple. Can they afford to go out and buy a 3-acre lot and then build a $300,000 house on it? I don't think so. So if they had a half acre and they could build a 1,500 or 1,400 square foot house, they could probably swing it.
Very few people build those anymore. That's why the average age of new home buyer is like 39 or 40.
Yeah.
Because you gotta come up with half a million.
Exactly.
90% of it.
I think we're losing a lot of younger people that want to go like down to Topeka, because you can find an older home on a smaller lot and not spend so much money. I think you could put them on a newer house on a smaller lot in Jackson County. And I think you could come in and do a subdivision, small one. I mean, how many houses do we have in town that are over 100 years old? A few, but not a lot.
There's quite a few.
What I'm also thinking of that is when you take the 40 to 50-year-old families that move out of town and build a new house, and that frees up their house in town for a younger family,
That's-
closer to the schools. I mean,
That's a good point. Everyone probably already knows this, but that's one of the main ways that more affordable housing is available for younger families, because those are the people that are basically our ages, that have no resources in general. Or maybe almost, not quite our ages. They generally move up, get a more expensive house, build a more expensive one, and then that opens up their older, usually, sometimes less expensive house to other buyers, which is often which is more feasible for the younger families.
Right.
When they're starting out with their first.
So if you make those available for those people to do, where they don't want to live in the city, they're saying, I'm moving out, I don't need 2 acres or 3 acres, I just want a little more space. I don't want my neighbor right here. Then it might encourage them to go ahead and do that and open up. I mean, just look on Banner Road out here, how they built those houses in there.
Yes, why would you want to live by somebody that close?
That's what I'm saying, is they want to move out, but get a little bit more space. But you see it all the time, people build out in the country and then they build their house right next to the neighbor because they're just so used to it. But I'm not saying that they need to have that much space to where if you buy that lot, to a half-acre lot, you know that there's going to be a neighbor right next to you. You're going into it with that.
I still think it ought to be at least no less than 2 acres unless it's getting annexed into the city limits, and then the city limit says how much, but then they can go by the square footage.
What? Okay, so you get 2 acres and your sewer system, you can only do 2 times. Then what? 50 years, you're done.
Or the limit.
No, it's not.
That'd be more, 2 acres would be more than what your minimum is, I think.
Well, it depends on how it works.
But under your proposal, Bob, they could go to just over ½ an acre.
Right. It depends on how the land works. I'm not saying that 60 by 100 is set in stone. It's how the land works. It could be more. It could be less. So if you had to have 100 by 100, you're going to take that times 4.
You're still ending up with less than 2 acres.
So what difference does it make? Why do you want to have 2 acres? Why do you want to have 5 acres? Let those people go outside in the country and buy their 5 acres. Let them buy their 20 acres if that's what they want. I mean, I look at subdivisions out south of town that have 5 acres, and they got a nice yard, and the rest of it's brush. Scrub brush, trees, cedars. I don't know,
Well, that's all the way people live, though. I mean, it ain't
well, that's
down
because
the
that's all they had, that's what they had to buy. If they had the choice, they probably would have bought less. And who wants to sit on a mower and mow every weekend for 2 hours or 3 hours to mow 5 acres?
And it all depends on whether somebody wants neighbors. I mean, it's like
Yes.
you live in town and the lot's next door, the house burns down and the lot's available. Some neighbor will buy it just so they don't get another house next door. So if it's out in the country and you want 5 acres, you can buy up the lots around you to keep your neighbors away. Or if you don't, you're okay with having a neighbor 200 feet from you, you let somebody else buy that lot and build a house. But having the restriction there limits how many people can do it.
We're making assumptions on what we think people want to do.
No, you gotta give them an option.
I mean, if
Yeah, they should have options.
if you have a 20-acre subdivision and it has 10 home sites, one person could go in and buy all 10 home sites if they had the money to do so.
Well, it's just like that guy that was here, 3 months ago when we were talking about them, 3-acre lots down near South Point. And the guy said that, he wanted to make sure that they had, because he was buying 2 3-acre lots because he didn't want nobody close to his kid. And wanted to know if that was going to be all right to do. Without
That was the 10 acres. He was gonna buy 2 of the 10-acre lots. He was changing the 40 to 10 acres.
So, I don't know. It's getting,
But that gives people the option that if they don't want neighbors, they can spend more money and buy a bigger lot. But if they don't care, then that frees that land up for somebody else to buy. If you keep it at the 5-acre minimum or 3 acres or whatever, it'll eliminate or it limits the amount of homes that can be built.
Someone mentioned earlier, the non-75 highway towns. Do we want to look, which are obviously not part of the 75 core definition, do we want to allow some change outside of Deer, Soldier, Circleville?
Well, my question is, okay, so let's say that, I don't really understand. So let's say that we're gonna allow, based on what Bobby said, we're gonna say, okay, in certain areas we're gonna allow 1 acre. Because we feel like that's gonna cover this situation here, based on the size of the house. So you're still gonna come in and get a rezone, right? And you still have to change it from an R1 to an R3.
If that's the bare minimum, what we did was change the R1 to 3 zoning classification from an A1. An A1, you can't go less than 3 acres. But if you came and changed it to R1, you can go right now to 80,000 square feet.
Okay, so if it's zoned as a R1, it's already met what we're all talking about, right?
Well, it's at 80,000 is the minimum.
Oh, and we can drop that to 45,000 or 43,000 if we decided it was going to be 1 acre. So if it's what if it's an A1 zone right now? They're going to change the zoning to fall into that. So
For that one particular little piece,
They could just change the one parcel, or they'd have to probably do a minimum acreage, 3 acres probably, they'd change to that.
and so the R1 isn't necessarily specific to any location in the county. It's just R1. It can be anywhere. So is it? I mean, I'm just thinking how you write it in there, where you get what you want. So would you say something like within the R1 zoning, you would say, okay, within these certain tiers of our future use map, and this minimum is different than maybe what a different minimum is. We're talking about doing certain target.
Well, if you did it just in a zone, in R1, R2, and R3 zoning, you could put that countywide if somebody wanted to come in, because then they'd have to come in before this body, and the public would have their input to say, I mean, if somebody was in an area not in that corridor and they wanted to go ahead and change their zoning, they would still meet all of the.
So and there's no reason why we wouldn't allow that somewhere else. If nobody came in and spoke against it, is there any reason why we would have a problem with that? My question.
I don't think so.
Okay, can I do you have a map of the entire county that shows current zoning? You know, for example, specifically to the R1 question. I suspect that our R1 zoning is in fairly small
Well, I'm gonna have
But what
to
they're saying is somebody out in,
pieces of,
you know,
as it
2
currently
miles
is.
north of Soldier, that's not in that corridor, wants to change theirs to R1 zoning.
We can do that through the process.
Right, that's what, but if we were to say that you could go down to the 1 acre size, only in that corridor, that would not allow that in the R1. So my suggestion to that would be to change the R1 and R1, 2, 3 zoning to that 1 acre, and then it's all covered.
So I have to zoom in order to really see it.
Right,
Because
which
if
I
I-
don't,
yeah.
yeah, because they're small, they're comparatively small parcels compared to our 650
So
acres.
we're not gonna see it until I zoom into an area.
And that's on the county website, correct?
Yes.
And I have figured out to do all those.
Well, here it's that.
So you have your zoning layer colors here. You turn that zoning on,
I'll go check that out.
and you have your subdivisions. You have to turn that on, your subdivisions.
I have to have a computer to do
You have a drive.
that. I do, all I got is my phone.
Should work on your phone. It's-
I got a dinosaur computer that's so slow.
You can use your phone, but it's
Pretty difficult.
Just a reminder, everyone, that the R2 and R3 are mainly designed for two-family, in other words, duplex, and
Multifamily.
above, multifamily density. So obviously, I would think that would affect the lateral system that's required. Certainly for a duplex, much
Yeah,
in an apartment complex, it would be
Definitely wouldn't want to do that to us.
to do anything on small acreage.
So the green is R1.
no, those are just all the house points.
One of my big concerns is how do you not block these cities without their input? I mean, do they have plans? Do we know anything about their plans? They've got their own planning commissions and all that.
Well, like I
Look at
said,
stuff without any input.
I know up in Netawaka there, 4 years ago, they were giving away lots. You wanted to come build a house.
That'd be great to know that.
I don't think anybody took them up on it.
There is something in here that if we do anything with the cities, they have, there's a notice.
Right within 3 miles, I believe.
Yeah.
I knew there was a 3-mile deal, but we didn't have any input from them to spend a lot of time and do something opposite of what they were saying.
I would prefer to have them involved in anything,
I mean, Holton is
to discuss
landlocked more than
with us.
any of the rest, it looks to me.
I'm sorry?
Holton is pretty much landlocked, potentially more than any of the rest.
Holton can go any direction except Banner Creek property.
I mean, you can't go a long ways.
You can go north there, obviously on 16, basically as far as they want to go.
Well, but that's not adjoining.
West of the Lutheran Church and westward.
Yeah, you can go westward and still bike or walk.
Right.
You get past cracks, you're no longer a kid biking distance or walking for
Yeah, you're talking about driving.
people. But,
It's a whole other thing.
yeah.
Everybody can walk safely across the highway.
Well, hopefully that's in the works too. It's been a problem for many years.
So if we change the R1, lower those requirements countywide, would that, They go to the city, all the cities.
I would think that we would want. the
I'm just
city
wondering,
to-
is that-
because that's gonna affect
You have to.
them, so.
I just tell you that, bring them in.
Sooner rather than later.
Bolton is, I think, as everyone knows, has established a bit of a, they hold the map right there, a bit of a beachhead by the hospital. That's all on city sewer, city of Bolton, it's in the city limits. So Bolton could expand,
There,
yeah, north of Elk Creek, using that as their
it just wouldn't be contiguous with, it wouldn't be adjacent to the city, I mean, you gotta go down the highway.
Right, yeah.
When you look at any of the major cities that move out, there's still 2 miles that they gotta drive to get back in the city, but they're in the city limits.
Right, that's gonna happen, exactly, that's gonna happen.
I mean, just because you can't bike to the park,
That's not
they probably don't let their kids bike to the park anymore anyway.
Could be, but
Depending on
You
the.
see room your kids on bikes in the morning.
Right. See, at least not electric ones, right? Depending on the size of a potential future development, the developer sometimes is expected by whatever zoning agency, whether it be the county or the city, to actually include a little bit of parkland. So there's something within the subdivision. That's not done on small subdivisions of 10 or 20 houses. That might not be done because of the cost of land. The larger ones, that would be,
yeah, I've seen
could be expected. Or asked by the planning commission. Whatever.
I don't know, just thinking, even if you, I mean, outside the city limit, if you have the zoning change, the difference between the city annexing and giving city utilities, the cost of that lot is going to be tremendously higher, just because of the city utilities. Whereas if you had that lot outside of town and you had your own, you had to put in your own sewer, pay your own water meter and things like that, it's still probably going to be cheaper than living in the city.
Not necessarily.
I was gonna say,
If the
because
sewer cost is going to be the same.
the average water meter right now, outside to go through,
It's $5,000,
10.
$5,000.
Well, they told me 10,000 when I talked to them to get mine up there, but that's just right across the road.
Or you can one, 3. Because I've got an application in right now, it's 5,000 for water 3.
Is that with the meter and everything?
That's hookup. The meter's like $175.
That's not where I was at, but okay.
Did you have to run line? Did they have to bore under the highway or under the road? Or
Yeah.
then that's different.
Yeah, if it's already on your property, yeah, you can get onto it for $5,000.
Well, that's, yeah.
But finding that around most of these places now is hard to find. Because they got into a big deal over that Buffalo plant that they put in on 150th, trying to get watered in. They said, it's already going across our property. And if it would have been me, that's what I would say, well, you guys are technically not in Jackson County anymore because it's Indian property and it's not even taxed in Jackson County. So, whatever, how you going
All right,
But it-
Jonathan, finish your thought on my comment on the cost.
I think that was good. I'm hearing that we all want to schedule some sort of meeting with the 9 cities, talk about maybe this and maybe a few other issues. Work on that communication.
We go to their city commission meetings, so they
That'd be 9. That'd be 9.
I don't know.
So, how
I'm
many
meeting
meetings?
down.
How many meetings do you want?
I'm meeting down.
And summer's coming.
I
Yeah.
think inviting them to a work session would be something that we can
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about, if that'd be the best way to do that.
Yeah.
We can talk about.
Or would it be
density
possible to
issue.
just pose the question of what is the city's plans for expansion? Do they have current plans? I mean, does Holton plan to expand? And that would be a simple question that they could answer. And if their answer is yes, then okay, we need to talk to them. If their answer is no, we don't. If Whiting has a 1 mile square city limit, I don't see them needing to expand their city limit. And so, I mean, so we would need to bring them in to talk about that. If their city commission just said, I mean, could you just pose a simple question is all?
That's possible. I would suggest a different route, though. I would suggest inviting them to a meeting. If they don't show up, they don't show up.
Because there may be some other things they want to share too,
Right.
that we're not even thinking of. If that's the environment we create, maybe we can get some other.
Right. There's some things that we can do together. I don't know what those.
Well, I'm going to change the things too before. Our government shut down right now, they don't want to filibuster.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, you probably won't get full representation. Their entire commission's not gonna come because then they have to schedule a special meeting.
We say the
Just
representative
One
too.
representative, yeah, the most.
Jonathan, do you remember if they actually have to physically sign off on something? I haven't looked at that stuff for a long time.
I'm not correct, Kate, that our rules say that they are notified, but there's no veto.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything
I'll
about
have
that.
to look at the statute. It's been a long time since I looked
Now, Holton might be a little bit different, because I think they still have their ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction, that goes out, or at least they used to.
They used to, I think they gave that up years ago.
at it. Should watch it by
The
now.
3 acre, 3 mile radius.
I think they might have a shorter one, but you deal with this every day.
Not every day.
Every other day.
No, I can reach out to them. Is there a date, a meeting date you have in mind?
So we have-
They would need some time to plan into their schedule.
Right, we know several work session in 2 weeks, that'd be too soon.
That's over too,
Right.
and that's too soon for,
Exactly, so,
I'd say you need to at least go 30 days out or longer.
yes, I agree.
there is an April meeting.
There is an April meeting, okay, so maybe 2 weeks.
So could we not just pose the question to them and see what they're,
We can certainly pose however many questions we want to pose. So,
do they want to meet with us and talk about it? Excellent, whatever.
So you want me just to email the question?
With, let's see, what's the April date? That would be, okay, thank you.
No, the only thing I'm thinking, if we send them a question, and they don't meet now till April, then we're not gonna hear anything back, or if they wanna meet with us, it wouldn't be till May.
Do they want to meet once a month?
So
And
yes, all of them do once a month except for Holden twice.
I would say before we looking for any kind of answer from them, we need to give them at least 60 days. Because it's gonna take 30 days in that period to get them to have their meeting, and then till we can get some kind of knowledge back from them. So I would sooner say you're gonna be looking closer into May than you are in April.
And this is a proposed change to the zoning regulations, not to the
If
comp
we're, I mean,
plan.
if that's something we wanna do.
So we're not on our comp plan deadline, so, yeah, that would be a question.
Because, I mean, there's no point in going, getting everybody involved if we're not in agreement, this is something that we really want to pursue.
Are you posing that question to everyone?
Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
Does
I'm
anyone
willing
need,
to look at it, I just don't know all the details or implications of it.
So you all are wanting to expand the suburban tier to around the additional cities, not just the 75 corridor.
that was one of the things we didn't agree on anything, but that's one of the points that was brought up. There was another point brought up, to modify R1, 2, and 3.
Or just R1,
Just R1.
just R1. The density to
44,000 square feet, right? Yeah.
1 acre instead of 2.
Is that in the comprehensive plan or is that just in the zoning regulations?
It's just the zoning, because it doesn't, the comp plan doesn't mention
Not
size
size.
limits.
Yeah, it's set up 5 acres for some reason. Right? But it doesn't hold any water, you say, so it's just zoning that makes it.
I would
It's
still
supposed to
leave
be
it,
seriously considered.
I would leave it at the 2 acres, and if they wanted to come in and present it before us, that they could do an acre cheaper and easier, and would still comply to the sewer rules and water, then it, we could give them that right, and if we left it at the 2 acres, then
But nobody would come and ask for that because it's not allowed in the zoning regulations. What we're saying is we'd have to change the zoning regulations to make that allowed.
So to me, on the comprehensive plan, you all should probably think about the suburban tier. And if that's what you're wanting to do is expand it to the other cities.
Oh, yeah,
because
south of Boyd we talked about, to the county
That's-
line.
yeah.
long-term development, this is lighter purple. It's got the suburban tier around it. And, long-term development tier.
See, and that's, if we can change that, because it says in there that it's 5 acres, but it's not really 5 acres, right?
Nothing is 5 acres.
So if we're supposed to be following the comprehensive plan, maybe that's something that we should address. We can address that ourselves right here, right? Page is that on, this is bordering on.
I mean, that's what doesn't make sense to me is the greater than 5 acre lots, well, we don't have any limitation on 5 acre lots. On A1, you can go 3 acre lots. So why does it say 5 acres?
Why doesn't
That's what I'm saying, why does it say that? You've been here longer than me.
it?
She wasn't here during.
Wasn't here during
This was
the process.
I know,
She was not here.
I think that could even just come out. We don't have to say greater than 1 acre. It doesn't have to be said. It's said in the zoning regulations. The plan is to encourage growth near urban areas, or suburban densities, or urban densities if the street and sewer standards are met. That 5 acres just adds something that's not. Can I just go out of there?
I don't think it makes sense, so yes, I mean,
Page 49. It's that first sentence. Yes, suburban. 49 on
call it in.
So you're saying the zoning doesn't match that currently? I'm understanding.
It's written like it's a requirement, but it's not. Right? It just gives the impression that we're not gonna do anything less than 5 acres.
Then the other spot would be the 20-acre average. Because I know that was another issue. So that is specific to the comprehensive plan, you know, that stuff is in there.
It's right there, 20,
You see it?
right there. Above responsible area.
It's 27.
Ag zoning districts.
Which that's not something we decided to amend at this time.
So you were wanting to keep the average still 20?
I don't want to, but that's the consensus of this
Oh.
body, I believe.
What does that mean?
One house per 20 acres.
In an
In A1 zone, ag zone.
So then page 49, it was the 5 acre in the suburban tier.
Well, I'm looking at the suburban tier with the roads too. It says paved access to all residential subdivisions via public road from a paved county road is required.
Yeah, so that just means no subdivisions off the gravel roads. You can use gravel for developments larger than 5 acre lots, right? But it's gotta come onto the paved surface.
But we're taking out, why do we have 5 acre lots?
Right, that's what it needs to go, I think.
I mean, we have 2 subdivisions west of town.
That are on things that don't spill out onto a paved road.
Right. I think the one on Road Road, it's paved to that spot, but E Road is not all the way. Maybe it is. You're not gonna
No, Wyoming.
go. That's right. West.
Remember, the comp plan is a guideline, it's not the official rule, which are all in zone regs.
But if we're gonna reduce the 5 acre lots, can we just take that out of there? In the comprehensive plan? I mean, it's not zoning. It references it twice like it's some kind of requirement, or it's some kind of major issue. And you're right, this should be used. This is, so, something to go back and look at. So then, is it also that we're gonna require subdivision to spill out and it has to be come onto a paved surface? That's something that we're gonna require?
We gotta look at the subdivision regs and see if there's language about paved.
would think on the road, in the subdivisions, you would want the county standards to be met when it, at that connection point where it spills out onto a county road. You know, you would want that approach and that, you know, that turn to be up to standards because it's a connection point. But beyond that, you know, how wide and all that stuff would be.
There's extensive conditions in here on page 21 of the subdivision. So pages on
So that was interesting.
29, well, I mean, it's just right in the middle of it, and there's like 3.5 pages on dimensions for roads. That's what we're talking about. It starts at 28. Shall conform to intent of the comprehensive plan. So, I spent a lot of time figuring all this out.
So if you notice that this document was county hired an engineering firm to actually help
Yeah.
this whole language process.
So do you want to stay on the subdivision regs? Or are you guys satisfied with the paved part on the comprehensive plan?
I myself, I mean, does the subdivision need to spill out onto a paved road? Is that a deal breaker if somebody wants to do
So there's one south of town, I mean, now it's paved, it was chipped and sealed it before, it wasn't. That's the one across from Fairgrounds. That private road or subdivision, that road runs north and south, did not come out on a paved road. So I don't know why that's even in there.
I would guess, I mean, it's the,
engineer.
well, it's more traffic on a gravel road causes more maintenance. And, you know, if you're gonna encourage growth, you want it to be on, you know, you want the road to be able to handle it.
Other than the dust issues, that people concentrate there, then the dust will cross.
The county commission.
Maybe those aren't 5-acre tracts. Maybe they're only 3.
I just say those that's across from the fairgrounds, different 3-acre tracts.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why that 5-acre lot is in the second one where the roads are. We're saying, hey, if they're 5-acre lots, if they're gonna be bigger than that, then you need to have paved access.
But also, the subdivision is different than the R1 zoning. So subdivisions have to come out to a paved road, but R1 zoning does not. Or do you have to do it, if you do R1, does it have to go to the subdivision?
Them 4 acres, aren't
That's the
3,
plat, that's the plat number, 4.05.
3 acre,
That's why.
it's 3 acre. 3 acre.
There's 4 houses, use 5 houses.
And that's rural residential, rezoned to rural residential in that rural subdivision plan.
So this wasn't in the subdivision rules?
It should have,
It's
yeah.
a shed. It's on the same
So, zoned to rural residential and then the subdivision is done. According to that.
What is it?
Rural residential zoning was done and then the subdivision. two processes.
Right, yeah, I know, yeah, they get the zoning first, and then they come back with a proposed plat. Once the slotting is approved, the new zoning for that district.
Depending, you know, if they want it smaller, then they can do R1 or multifamily.
So they just chose the 3 acres. They could have
They
smaller,
could have done R1, which I had the smaller road.
what RR is not. Yes. I can go 80,000 in R1. Unless they couldn't get perk,
I don't think they can get through it.
maybe that's why they can go bigger.
'Cause I know one of them out there had to add on because it was coming out of the ground.
On this part,
Yeah. That's why I like the perk part in there. I think they should all have to perk it before you start subdividing.
A question, when they do parks, I don't remember, I'm assuming the tester will do multiple locations? They won't just pick one spot on
Usually what they do, who's ever doing your excavator, he comes out backhoe and he digs a hole. He can tell you what, when they jump in there and they tell you what the soil is. Calculate out 3 bedrooms, and that takes some square feet of land.
as long as they pick the area where they think they're.
Well, when you perk, you pick several areas.
I would hope it would.
Usually, and then you put water in the hole, and then you go and you look at it and see, you know, you still got water in the hole. When he comes back, you get in trouble.
So in RR, it says it's 80,000 square feet unless it can be shown that an acceptable percolation rate is present and the soil test is compatible with on-site disposal. Then the minimum lot area shall be 40,000 square feet exclusive of the road dedication reason. So we already have it in RR.
Yeah. That's why you're here.
I think part of what this body may be struggling with is I don't personally see our challenge in our zoning regulations that our lots are not small enough, that we don't allow small enough lots. I think our challenge is that we have not, as a county, attracted what I would call professional, financially capable developers that can build them these small lot subdivisions. We've not attracted those, which the only people that we're getting are people who own 60, 40, 60, 80, whatever acres, and they want to then subdivide that into however many lots they can under our regulations. We are not at the moment getting professional developers like some of the subdivisions in northern Shawnee County, the area just east of 75 there at 46. All those new houses that have been built there north of 46, east of 75 over the last 20 years. That's a Shawnee County developer. Obviously, those are city-sized lots. That's on some sort of a group community sewer system. If everyone remembers 3 years ago when the new lots that were just mentioned a few minutes ago on Banner Road here, south side of Bolton, those all sold. Now, those were partly, that infrastructure there was partly financed by a state program, which helped lower the cost to the eventual buyer of those homes. Those were around.
Lot 3.
Yeah, the homes, I don't know, I think that this may be the lots, I'm not certain. Around 250, 275 or so, 100,000. Those 10 sold almost immediately. Some of them, now 4 or 5 of them were spec, so that particular developer did not build anything until he had a buyer. The other 4 or 5, the other half of them were all built on spec and they sold very quickly. So there is actually a demand for city-sized lots. When there's sewer available, and then we're going to have to wait lots. That of future liability. But then when they sell it 7 years later or something, they have to hey, we've got this, and it's just sitting there.
There's a demand for housing.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
Anyway.
so it's a matter of, how do we attract the developers themselves to come in and build as many houses as, which is not a question we can answer tonight. That's where I see the challenge, not in the regulations themselves, for the most part.
My apologies for not having an understanding of this book, as I'm learning as we're going,
I think all of us are.
because we've spent the last year consumed
Other things.
with something else.
It's not an easy subject to administer.
So we've achieved what we wanted to achieve up in the R rural residential zone.
Basically, we went a complete circle.
That's it, and
And it ended up back where we were.
that lines up with what you're talking about, Bob.
Yeah. But we educated ourselves in the process.
Yeah, this is not a bad thing to do.
And so the more I've been thinking about this is probably just talking about lots that are 5 acres or larger. It's not necessarily saying the lot has to be 5 acres. It's just saying when the lots are 5 acres or larger, this is what we would expect. We would expect to dump out onto a paved road if you're gonna do gravel, then in that case, they must be privately owned and maintained, which is already subject before. So this is still good then, right?
To me, the way it reads, if everything we've been discussing, if we just didn't find it, just pinpoint.
So I guess you can read those highlights, maybe read that.
I'm going to throw out a new topic here. Agriculture is very important to this county, as everyone knows. Not putting you on the spot, but you might know more about this than some of the other people, and you don't have to give us an answer tonight. But are there things, what I'm wondering is, are there some things that Jackson County could do to encourage maybe more ag-related development? I'm talking about downstream. Obviously, farmers grow their crops, ranchers, basically grow animals, so to speak. Are there some things, some types of businesses that the county might benefit from that would be supported by the ag community that would generate jobs and need for housing? I'm talking about, obviously, there's processing, there's all sorts of stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, you look at any county around Jackson County, and they have industry, ag industry.
Exactly.
Why is it that Jackson County cannot? You look at Savannah and Seneca, they're loaded with industry. Jackson County has nothing.
We have one. Pork processing plant is
Yeah.
but that's it.
I mean, we do have, parallel farms,
Right.
but they're small, I don't know what we can do to attract them, other than incentives. But as far as
I don't know if there's-
what's in this book, I think that everything is available to them. I think that whatever not the revitalization, but there's some program that, like the J6 is doing out there, is that the revitalization that they can apply for, but that's an incentive. So I've never understood why they drafted this that way, you know. So I don't know an over for why we can't get anything. Nemaha County's not zoning for one. Whether that encourages development, I don't know.
I'm trying to think, Brown is zoned, or not? Okay, Brown's
So that
Well,
may be
they-
some of it.
It could be in the works, maybe Mohawk County could be in the works with that.
But historically, that may be why people are there.
That's how they got windows too. Been done before this.
So that's the best answer I can give tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that's something that we should think about, I think that's, might be a topic. That would help the counties.
I mean, what are the reasons why business would kind of just kind of outbeat it? Any business wise. We all think about that, like, is it something that we can identify?
Water,
Or
not large enough water capacity for what they're wanting to do.
There's a lot of, that was the big deal that they run into with that truck stop and all that stuff down there. And because they went, last time the water district went clear to Atchison or something to find a big enough capacity, they were talking about running water like that. And I don't know what happened, because it just went quiet and all of a sudden it's back to going.
I'm guessing some of those counties have more incentives for the businesses in too.
Jackson County, I think, has an industrial incentive policy. This is separate from the neighborhood revitalization program. I've not looked at it recently. The city of Bolton has one. I know for certain, I think the county does. That would partly address what we're talking about.
And the other thing is Seneca, so that those a lot of those businesses were started by locals, grassroots type of businesses.
Jackson County used to fund around $13,000 a year the Northeast Kansas Enterprise Facilitation Program, which is specifically to help people that are either starting a brand new business, like you're referring to, or people that have an existing business that they want to make some changes to, and they want to consult for free. Jackson County decided not to fund that group 2 years ago. Brown and Nemaha, Doniphan and Atchison are the other 4 counties that are still supporting that county programs.
There's a lot of resources there.
But that might be one thing, obviously, out of our control, that this body, the commission could do, but small expense. Okay, so where are we, guys? Talked about several different things. Are we wanting to go ahead and have Kate send a few questions to the cities, explore a workshop? We'll put that on hold for a while. As far as zoning regulation changes.
I don't see us making any changes to that since we found it.
I mean, yeah.
Say technically,
So
we've
that's
got one in the paper.
Already,
Yeah,
So
so I mean,
R,
which is just rural residential. Rural.
I would say it pretty well answered our questions with what we found.
so you can build on a lot that's 20,000 square foot.
But why is the R1 says it's established to provide for single-family residential development at a higher density than is allowed in the RR. but yet the RR allows it farther than the R1. No, I'm sorry, there it is. Why is it just not, it's 20,000 feet in the R1, if the perk rate is there. So that's why the R1 allows it to go to half what RR does. That's on page 38.
Right, this is not a professional opinion. I would think that RR is more of a, as it says, rural, kind of a transition zone between ag and more intensive residential, which is sort of R1.
R2, you can do 20,000. The safest about an hour. Just told me
I really didn't understand where you were going, like
that. Apparently,
the rural, the suburban tier thing is, which, you know, if somebody wanted to come in and they were just outside the city limits of whatever town, and they had 10 acres and they wanted to split that into multiple parcels, that would be an option. It would be R1, rural residential, or R1 or R2, whatever they're wanting to do, and then the city would get notification. The city could attend that meeting. They could annex at that point. I mean, there are things in place that would allow for that already.
Already.
But if you were wanting to set it up where they wouldn't have to get come before this board, then that's like a whole different thing.
And that's
I
where
thought
I
that's
think
where
it
you were wanting to
was
go.
starting at, is in that suburban tier of making the process easier. We already have everything we needed to do. It was just in those certain areas.
That you were wanting to make it easier for people just to do it without having
I don't know if I was wanting, I was asking the question, I guess.
like it would be an administrative decision instead of a board decision. Is that
Yeah, I
is
mean,
that right?
that public process would happen at the point that we said the land in that suburban tier would be changed to this R1
So
designation.
that's what you were.
So it would not be an administrative procedure, it would be the regular.
Well, right now it is,
Right.
right?
The question of was, could that be a possibility? That land in those suburban tiers would be,
An administrative decision
yes.
versus planning commission decision.
If you remember when it's, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, please. When it's an administrative decision, that bypasses the whole public input.
But
Process.
the public input process would come at the point that was changed into that suburban tier. So we would have a meeting that says, we're going to move this land into this process.
Remember, suburban tier is not legally defined in this document.
Okay.
There's a map, but that map is not precise
You would have to establish a suburban tier
in our
around
regulations.
whichever
And, you know,
in the
legally
regulations,
defined-
yes.
legally
And that's,
defined-
yeah,
it applies to, so.
I don't think it's a relevant topic.
I was gonna say, it's laid out pretty good, what we found.
But that's why we have these brainstorming sessions to figure it out.
Exactly. I need everyone's help. Is there, am I correct or am I mistaken? The at this point, there are no particular suggestions to change the comp plan this year. Is that correct?
That's my opinion.
I'd leave it alone.
So,
And I had suggestions about the types of land, but that's not something that needs to be changed right now. I think we all recognize that we're having decreasing quantities of ag land, and we need to think about these, so. Not only is there decreasing quantities, there's increasing quantities that are owned by outside interests that no longer contribute to the economic base of the county. I mean, every absentee landowner that we've got so many parcels of don't contribute to our county anymore. So I don't know what to do anything about it, but we got to recognize that it's happening.
okay, so, if, obviously, there's no vote tonight, but if there's no interest in changing our comp plan this year, then just to make sure that everybody understands that, we could schedule a vote for our, let's see, since we're not changing, could we still?
We don't have to vote
You
on
don't have.
We don't have to vote
We
on
just
it.
approve it.
You've just reviewed it.
We reviewed it.
Right, which is a requirement.
Yeah, went into in-depth, you know. That's how we found it.
Okay, I just wanted to, okay, yeah, so then.
Yeah,
the
only if
public-
you're planning on making changes, then we would do the public.
Yeah, the public hearing
Yeah.
and open notice and everything, so.
I'd say we're good to go.
Okay, it's just a bit after 7:45. So I think we talked about a workshop on solar in a couple weeks. Is that correct?
On the 26th,
Of March,
26.
same time, 16.
Well, you gonna do this calendar invites moving forward?
do you like that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Does everybody like that?
yes.
Could you
That's it.
keep it to a minimum of three emails? is enough.
Okay,
I
so
don't
the 2-hour notice, you don't need
Is
a
your email
2-hour notice.
No.
Day before is okay with everybody?
So with that, you're not gonna make calls. We need
I will
to
not
accept.
call you.
Well, I know, but we just need to accept.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility.
I will
So
call
the-
you.
I didn't
I'll
say,
keep calling you.
thank you.
The 2 hour before is probably not necessary. But I don't even know if I got it.
Great. Will do.
Yeah, she did me to do the message deal because me and him.
No problem.
Getting the phone doesn't get coming along sometimes.
I don't let it, you know,
Thank you, Bob.
If you would, that would be great. That way, especially if it's a regular meeting, then if I know that I have a quorum, then
Do we need to
That's
be
great.
in
if there's an
Regular
issue, then
meeting.
I'm gonna be calling those
call
people
meeting
that did
in
not
order
accept.
to put something on
See, then,
for next?
For the April meeting,
Yeah.
there's always a chance.
I didn't say, you, I just,
My feeling is no. In other words, you could go ahead and suggest something tonight.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Things were meeting in 2 weeks, but do we have anything in the April meeting?
yes. There's a zoning change in April.
Um, I'll wait, I guess. I would just like to make a public statement, or a statement that last week, there was a town hall meeting. I think Trevor was in attendance, I was not, but I watched it. 2 out of the 3 commissioners stated publicly that they're not in favor of commercial solar.
yeah, I got the same message.
The other one has said that they'll follow, as long as the companies can follow the regulations that we put forth. I believe that we need to have regulations. I don't want to quit on them. I do think that we need to I think that our regulations could suit both sides, for and against. I think it's going to take our agencies time to understand and develop. We're going to have a new zoning administrator figuring it out. What I was wanting to ask for, to put on the April agenda, to see if there's a popular vote, was to put at least a 1 year, maybe a 2 year moratorium on commercial solar. That would give us the time to finish the regulations, give the company time to say, this doesn't look like it's gonna happen here.
Well, the biggest thing that I've found with all the research that I've done is if there's a big disaster,
We're not talking disasters and potential possibilities, whatever. I'm talking, that we have it at the meeting, that's public notice, that we vote up or down on a moratorium.
Is that a recommendation?
Is that something we
The
can do?
commission would have to do?
Yes. We would recommend, if it passed, we would recommend a moratorium and the commission would have to vote on it. I believe that it would be at least a 2-1 vote right now. They want to, we could have the potential of nuclear having to talk about it, and I don't know that I don't want to stop on these regulations. I think the limited scale, from the beginning, I thought the limited scale was a strong possibility. If Evergy wants to do it, if Brown Atchison wants to do it, if Bluestem, I think that that's a possibility. I've never thought that commercial was viable for our county. So I want to continue with the regulations, I want to make them good. But in order to make sure that all happens, that's just my suggestion. So I guess if we want to take a vote whether we want to put that on the April meeting. I don't know if it's too much because we would have to have public comment. And with that comes rules about how long we want to have opposition and for.
I was gonna say, a lot of the people that talk to me are highly against.
But I don't think we need to have a 2-hour-long comment session. I think 15 minutes for both sides would be sufficient.
If you don't have the county people aren't gonna go along with it, I understand what you wanna go ahead and finish it, but the county commissioner's gonna come and go, and maybe the next ones, I think it'd be great if these guys aren't gonna, they won't pass it even if we do come up with regulations. Okay.
And maybe if we push it 2 years down the road, that's an election drive for county commissioners that they can.
Now, obviously, if we don't pass anything, then there's no, community scale, that you're referring to.
I want to pass commercial, this regulations, I want to finish it and get them through. Because in 3 years, the commission could look completely different. And if we don't have regulations, then we're starting all over. We went too far to stop. I don't want to stop.
Exactly, yeah.
I just want to take the pressure off. Because the commission's not going to vote for it anyway. So we just take the pressure off. For one, we're getting back, we met 2 times. We're close, but I don't know that we're there yet. I think that the proposal that Jason has to put in there is a great deal, but I think it's going to be a deal breaker in the end. So
Why don't we talk about this in 2 weeks, and we could bring it up, for example, at the May meeting, because we need to give enough notice.
right now we have enough notice. We have
At the moment we do, yes.
So Tuesday, I would have to put it in the paper. So Tuesday morning would be my deadline to get that publication ready for the paper. Wednesday's paper.
My question is, does the body have the ability to do that? That's what I asked.
That's where the recommendation for more time.
Probably suggest anything.
Oh, it's a recommendation, so.
Yeah, because I talked to 2 of the 3 county commissioners, and I said, if you don't want it, why are we even spending all of our time on it? And they would not come out and give me it,
Well, I'll say it again, I want the regulations, I want to finish, continue on, there's a lot of things in there. I'm just saying, if we did this backwards, we had a company come in trying to do something and we didn't have regulations and we're fighting from the backside. I want to switch it around and say, we're not going to do anything until we have the regulations in place to give everybody time to digest these things when we get done. Because who knows, we could pass the regulations in, say, in May. By June 1st, you could be inundated with the process and you haven't had time to get it all done. So, that's, I guess I would like a vote on whether we want to put it on the April meeting. Whether I can't make a motion because we're not in the meeting. But by a show of hands, is that?
We can do that. I'm just speaking for myself, okay? I don't think a moratorium is a good idea. I think it's better to just go ahead and finish and continue with the process. People cannot currently apply because we don't have regulations in place. So we have, in effect, a moratorium already in place.
I'm just trying to eliminate the legal part of this, that when they try to sue us for something that we put into there and we don't have the money to fight it.
And would that be a county commission?
But if they sue us, it's still not going to matter. We still have to do that. We put a moratorium on it, it doesn't matter. We still write the regulations, but they don't have any say because we're not going to allow it for a set amount of time.
What does everyone think? Do you want to take this
Well,
up?
my question is if, say we finish up the regulations and we send it back, the commissioners are gonna review that, the commissioners' attorneys are gonna review that, public's gonna have a comment on that. Is that the way that works?
They will send it back to us with any
They'll
recommendations.
send it back with
changes.
any recommendations.
So we're already talking several months down.
And so, and in that time frame, there is no solar allowed, correct?
That's right.
Well, personally, I don't wanna mess around with these things for another year. You know, I'd like to get it down and get them at least off our plate, back to the commissioners, so that process can play itself out, if it was me.
And that's not how, I'm still talking continue, get this thing wrapped up. I'm just saying, give us a year with no worries about them all of a sudden coming back to us and, whatever. But if,
I'd like to put it on the agenda. I'd like to put it on the agenda for next time, what you're saying.
And that's the question.
Yeah, I would like to. I mean, I thought everybody's asking.
There are anything in our bylaws about how things are added to the agenda. I think that's what we need to know. So if we don't,
I
and
think the
typically,
chairperson wants to set up the agenda.
typically it is the president who's helping to set the agenda, so, then you or you and the vice president, vice chair would set that.
You're hearing at least, Chris, what are your feeling?
You can at least vote on it. It's not gonna hurt.
Well, technically, it's not an official meeting.
I'm saying at the April meeting.
We're just saying whether or not we think we should put it on an agenda, the next official voting agenda, so we can. We may as well put it on the agenda. Those are my thoughts.
On the agenda.
now we set some ground rules for comments, public.
Well, this is, do we need to have a public hearing for that?
That's what I mean.
It would be a public hearing.
It's a vote up or down, public hearing on a moratorium.
We need some language.
Appeals,
We need some language
No.
on that.
I mean, there could always be something coming in on Monday.
That's what I was hoping, that there wouldn't be anything, so we wouldn't tie up the whole room with somebody else's hearing.
Or is it anything yet?
We could always push it to a month later if there is.
There isn't.
I mean, if you're gonna vote on a moratorium, there's no hurry.
Well, just,
You can push it off until June.
there's nothing there.
So
I'm just ready for the public to know where we stand, I guess.
on the public hearing, we wanted, I think last time we left it fairly open, I would 3 minutes.
I would say just limit public comments to 15 minutes for
You got a
15
total
minutes.
total
Total.
length of 15 minutes.
If somebody wants to speak for 15 minutes, that's it. 10 people want to speak per minute, that's my suggestion. Because we've heard it, we've sat through 6 hours, 4 hours of it. We know pretty much what is going to be said. And it's not regarding the regulations, it's different. It's
Right, this is a different question. I think we should probably put a limit on the number of minutes per person. So that one person doesn't.
Well, when are you trying to have it?
April, at a regular, a month from today.
Why not just, if you're gonna do it, you wanna do it the right way, why not just push it till May? It's a moratorium anyway. I mean, it's already, so you're gonna vote on it.
Well, the only thing was, we're just talking about the amount of time to allow comments. So that we're not here for 4 hours to make
If
one.
we have somebody in the,
We already have business.
No, she said we do in April.
We have a zoning change, that
Oh,
would be first. And then if you're wanting to do a public hearing on the moratorium, that would be second, and then there's no appeals at this point. There could be something coming in on Monday, which would then be an 8 o'clock. So,
well, that's what we're saying, could be.
but
could be, not.
theoretically, I mean, the moratorium aspect could be 30-minute process if we limited comment to, or 40 minutes.
Yes.
Because if we say we'll push it to the May, there could be something show up in May too.
Yes.
So,
For both.
right. That's why I say just put it on, see where we go.
If you don't have any policy or anything, the bylaws or constitution that dictate the amount of public forum comment time, then standardly, at least in school districts, you can set, the board can set the amount of time per person to give comment or advise that those who are speaking on the same side, so if this is a yes or a no, then you can request that groups come together and share that time to try to limit the number that would then get
That
up.
way nobody's excluded.
The thought is, if you're all in favor, if you have a lot of people in favor, go ahead and join that together or nominate one spokesperson to represent that group of people, and then we know how many people are in support of that. But then one person is speaking, that reduces the amount of time, so you don't get the redundancies, and you're more effective every time.
And under that model, one possibility would be to split the 15 in half. So 7.5 minutes for the in favor, 7.5 minutes for the against. To give each side equal time, and then obviously we work within that. Would that be
I think you gotta find.
Could,
Not gonna
usually they say you have 2
enough
minutes.
support to do it.
2 minutes per
But
person.
what if 100 people want to get up and spend 2 minutes?
Yeah, then we're,
Right, then they
we're
say-
cutting off at 15, so whoever,
We would like you to, if you're of the same mindset, then we would like you to present your, nominate one person or two.
But you can't limit the time that they have to speak. I
You
mean,
can,
You still 15 minutes per side.
that's what I mean, can we limit it to 15 minutes for, 15 minutes against? May not need that. I mean,
That's some good boundaries to set. I like,
like the 15 and 15.
yeah, that's.
It's not, if one goes, one feels they're 15 and the other feels they're 15, we're not moving some of those extra 15
Right.
to get back to the other group. Okay, back to the limitation on per speaker. We're thinking 15 minutes, 90 seconds would allow theoretically 10 At least 10 speakers unless someone speaks less than 9 seconds. Does that sound
What would you ask?
Would you want
We did 3 minutes, but we were asking for recommendations on the regulations. Basically, now they're just saying why we should or why we should not.
Basically a yay or nay.
So, yeah, I mean, that's where I thought 15 minutes is plenty of time. How you determine how many speakers get in that? I would think that everybody would get together and say, hey, we're going to let one person. But I mean, yeah, 90 seconds is fine. I don't want to make that part of it too complicated, but yes, we kind of have to.
All you're gonna do is say, yes, we should do it, no, you shouldn't do it, 60 seconds. That's a long
Yeah.
time. Last time they had 3 minutes, we got a lot of information.
Right. But they were given reasons and
Ages and why.
specifics and this and that. This is just a,
Basic yay or nay.
yes, we should put a moratorium, or no, we should not. And why we should not. So, 60 seconds.
yeah, okay, 15 minutes per side, maximum 60 seconds per speaker. Is that-
So is it first come, first served?
That's
Yeah,
the way to do it.
we need a sign up sheet, of course.
So the first 15 people that sign up are it.
Right, unless some of them just use 25 seconds.
There, yeah.
So we'll go to the full
After
15 minutes.
we just do it like a normal meeting, we just open it up for anybody got any comments, and it's 15 minutes. When the clock runs out, the clock runs out, whether you took 15. I mean, because the for, or the against a moratorium is gonna be 1 or 2, maybe, landowners or company. The against, or the for side would be community members and whatever else. So,
To me, it's important for whoever chair, is in charge of the meeting, which will obviously be one of us.
You.
One of us.
you're not gonna say
Yeah.
that. You won't miss that one.
It's helpful for me to have a list of people that I can call on.
And I'll give you
Not
that.
just raise their hands, because then you get into the,
Right.
I raise my hand first.
Right.
And it's the 14-minute mark, and then 3 people did it.
Right.
So the sheets are, proponent, opponent.
Opponent,
So yeah, you can see,
Proponent, opponent.
yeah, you can see which ones are.
Yeah, having those people sign up,
I mean, I can keep them separate sheets.
that would be better. That would help clarify things. That agreeable to everyone, 15 minutes per side, up to 60 seconds per speaker.
If something changes during the meeting and need more time, I guess you can go to the next meeting if you absolutely have to.
We'll do that.
I mean, that's,
But I don't see that happening.
I don't
see it happening.
I don't think we need to have it
Drawn out.
multiple hours of it's just
Just a
simple, it's a simple question, yes or no.
Just a
I really don't hope that they don't take up 15 minutes, just,
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
thank you.